Welcome back. This is the big one. TV3 has learned management of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital has removed the head of service canteen at the hospital from her post following the station's TV3's expose of inflated cost of food for medical staff. A memo dated February 15 and signed by the Director of Administration, Mohammed Nuruddin, and chanced upon by TV3 directs 4 staff of the canteen to move to other departments. Head of the service canteen, Madam Nicole Korto, has been moved to the main kitchen as a kitchen hand following the report of the hospital outsourcing the canteen service to Met Dinner, a restaurant outside the hospital. The memo stated Mohammed Fati, a junior staff, be made head of the service canteen. On Monday, 13th February, TV3 investigations revealed how management of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital outsourced the feeding of its doctors to Met Dinner, which provides the same services the hospital's canteen was built for. Management claims the canteen was running at a loss, hence the decision to outsource it. But documents in the possession of TV3 proved otherwise. The documents suggested prices of procured food items were inflated by the hospital's supplier, LB Foods. The hospital has refused to comment on the matter. Let's quickly get onto the telephone lines and speak with Professor Anthony Mawuli Sala, who is the immediate past board chairman of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. He's joining us. Good evening, sir, and thank you extremely for your time. So I know that when this story broke for the first time on 3FM 92.7, we spoke with you, and you were outraged by a lot of the things happening within the hospital administration. Now, this is a new one, the outsourcing of food to Met Dinner. Are you surprised about the happenings at the Korle Bu lately?
Yeah, I'm really surprised that this issue with the canteen keeps on occurring and occurring, and I think it's about high time they should let the matter rest in the sense that transferring Nicole, even though I'm not in management, and then at the time we were there, it would not have happened, because when this issue of inflated food prices came, the knee-jerk reaction was to close the canteen, and we said no. The canteen was a very valuable resource in the operations of the hospital, especially where the housemen are fed. So it would not be appropriate to close the canteen and continue this trend by trying to transfer somebody who was here to go and work as a kitchen hand. It just beats my mind. It beats my mind, and then I don't want to say it is retaliation. But then if you look at it, the average person or the reasonable person will say some sort of retaliation, which is not the right thing to do under the circumstances. Like, she is being punished for speaking the truth when she was confronted with what was going on.
Let's talk a little bit about the canteen itself, since you raised the issue about this coming up and previously, and the board suggesting that the canteen should not be closed. Are you familiar with the challenges this canteen has faced, for which reason a decision of this nature was made to outsource cooking to medical staff outside of the hospital?
The only challenge I know, and I can talk to, is the fact that the canteen used to operate on profit based on financial statements I saw over the past, I believe, 5 years. And then it's only when they started this outrageous process where something they used to pay 80,000 balloon to how much? 190, a difference of 110,000 for the same basket of goods that the canteen operating at a loss. So I don't think that is the only challenge I've seen. And the thing is, if they come back to the normal, the argument was that when they were given money to go to the market to buy perishable items some money, an amount was being skimmed off. But then that brings to our sense of proportion. I mean, if I give you 10,000 and you go to the market and you steal 2,000 a month, or let's say you steal 1,000 a month, compared to losing 110,000, come on. I mean, what's our sense of proportion? And there, of course, there is no evidence, or I've not seen any evidence that the women were stealing the money. So why go in and put the whole thing through tender and be losing 110,000? It doesn't make sense.
I'm tempted really to wonder, my mind is wondering whether the Korle Bu board was aware of the decisions that were made, whether it approved it. I mean, you are no longer the board chairman, but when the discussions came forward, did you at any point suggest or approve suggestions that were made to outsource the cooking?
No. I think when I discovered the fraud, I'll call it the fraud, or for example, items which were supposed to be 5 cedis all of a sudden became 150 cedis. Items 7 cedis became 87 cedis, etc. When I discovered that, the reaction was, okay, we should close the canteen. And I said, no, we cannot close the canteen. This canteen will never be closed. As long as I remain a board chairman, because it will send a wrong signal to places that if you cooperate with authorities in uncovering wrongdoing, you will be punished. And if that should reverberate throughout the hospital, then the change that we're trying to bring to Korle Bu will not take place, or even then will not be sustainable. So the main thing to do is rather to encourage people, and then trying to close the canteen or punish the people cooperating for a better Korle Bu will not be the way to go. So the board will never approve such a move. No. Will never have outsourced it.
I know when the issue of the allowances came, Christmas bonuses that were paid to selected members of management team, I know you were furious, and there were many Ghanaians who started thinking that Korle Bu had become a machinery for corruption. And for those who had such thoughts, this was an emphasis of the perception they had that we for example, discovered that there were documents which proved that food procured were overpriced about 3 times, 2 times or 3 times the prevailing prices on the market, and these were billed to the hospital. Do you get the impression that the corruption within the Korle Bu system is gone beyond controllable limits, and that perhaps there is need for very drastic actions to be taken to streamline operations of Korle Bu and bring back its image, reputation into the mainstream?
Well, for the 2 years that we were board members at Korle Bu, I would say overall we had good. Korle Bu workers are on the average good workers. I mean, they work hard for patient care, and they try to do their best as much as they can. So overall, I would say, okay, we have good workers, but then at the same time, the environment may foster bad apples because of what is going on. And so we tried as much as possible to block revenue leakage by bringing in 2 banks so that we'll have cash point collection. So only in few circumstances, or under no circumstance will an individual handle cash. Even then, we still had challenges, and we tried to resolve them. And but then the main problem was in procurement, where we were bleeding. And we have tried as much as possible to get records of things procured, procurement list, and so on. But we had challenges there. We never had them, or sometimes we had them, but then very, very, very late. So when this happened, we noticed that this was the tip of the iceberg, and we wanted to really get into it. So our suggestion, and then the handing over notes that we have, is to have a couple of things listed for the minister to take a look and investigate, and also tighten up some areas because it doesn't make sense when you increase your revenue and you are bleeding in expenditure side. So we decided that we have to fire the individuals involved in procurement, and we fired the 3 of them. And that was our last board meeting because we had 2 investigative reports, and we used those reports to fire them. And of course, management was supposed to implement the firing. In fact, I had a draft letter, and it was not signed by the CEO before we left. And that was our last meeting.
Right.
And from sources, management reversed that decision by the board. I don't know why they reversed it, and they decided to give the individuals involved 2 months suspension, which is kind of one cannot understand why a board decision. The board is supposed to be the overall in charge of the hospital. Yeah,
Professor Salah. Professor Salah, we're grateful for your time tonight. Thank you very much.
I don't know why that happened.
Joining us, Professor Salah is the former board chairman of Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. This is still news at 10.